Hey guys, I wanted to talk a little bit about tanking Wailing Caverns as a shaman. It's pretty straightforward. My biggest recommendation to start off is if you're going to be tanking this, get to level 20 first. It's going to make it to where you won't be resisting any of the, or you won't be resisted for your Earth Shocks. It'll be very easy to hold aggro. I do recommend making sure that you've got at least that 30% damage reduction for your armor, which usually just means upgrading your shield a little bit before you go in. And as far as it goes, I do line of sight pulls almost the entire time. What a line of sight pull is I will simply use a lightning bolt, rank 1 lightning bolt, pull them behind a rock so that the ranged attacks that they do won't be casted until they get very close to us, making it a lot easier. You won't have the issue of them running away and pulling 5 more sets of mobs. You won't have the issue of the raptors screaming when they get low and pulling more mobs. And then from there, if you can see, I do start off by killing Crash because I just want to see if I can get a shield upgrade because my shield's not that great. We don't get it. Then I'm going to give you guys the left rule. Head down, and you're going to be taking lefts almost every time when you go into the dungeon. Whenever there is a fork in the road, take a left. And even from the start of the dungeon, you go down the ramp, take a left, head over, clear that boss, and then head back through, go back up, and then keep taking lefts. And just follow that rule along the way. You can see line of sight, even in these little pillar areas. I'm line of sighting, pulling them back, shocking one, auto-attacking the other, and then alternating auto-attacks and shocks based off of who's taking the most damage. I'm telling my team that I'm doing line of sight pulls, so you can see my team keeps walking forward, and then they walk back after I type. So it's pretty straightforward how you're going to be doing this. After making sure that you're over leveled, have that extra armor that you need, the better shields and whatnot. The only thing that I really recommend differently on this particular dungeon is to understand that line of sight pulls are extremely important, as well as Tremor Totem is really, really nice because the sleeps. I've had times where we've pulled 3 different druids and they've slept 3 different people on our team, and it makes these pulls take forever. So make sure that you have a Tremor Totem down, and the sleeps will last no longer than 4 seconds, and you can get through these very, very easily. As far as anything that you need to do, I recommend just pulling rather quickly, just to make the run go pretty quick. I've seen Wailing Caverns runs go up to 3 hours long from people getting lost or tanks just not knowing what to do or because of a wipe. I do not want to ever wipe in a dungeon. Makes everyone frustrated, demoralized, and slows down your run and your experience. So I primarily take the pulls very safe, but I do pulls very consistently. You can see no one's mana really goes too low until we get these AoE pulls. And you can see that we don't have any extra pulls from things running away. Every single pull that we do is anywhere between 2 and 5 enemies. We never have like these 7s or 8s. We never die. We never have any issues. When you get to Lord Cobron, the first boss, feel free to simply just Earthshock to tank him. Use a Stone Claw to tank all of the snakes as AoE just drops them down. Then you're going to go back up these ramps. You're going to clear up all of these. Once you go back up the ramp, you're going to just start heading on, taking again another left path. So once you get back up here, just go left all the way around up here until you take out Lady Anacondra, and then you're going to jump back down, and what do I say? You're going to just continue taking the left path for the rest of this dungeon. I did this dungeon in about 45 minutes. That wasn't including the final event. Final event adds about 15 minutes, and with the DPS numbers that we have right now, 45 minutes is pretty solid for Wailing Caverns. Unless you're running like triple mage and you're doing like just AoE pulls every time, it's very rare to go faster than 45 minutes in Wailing Caverns until people are geared. As far as, I mean, you can literally see our DPS is all around 12 to 20. My DPS is sitting around 30 to 40. So generally, it is something that you don't really do that often. So now that you guys know, just every time you hit a fork in the road, you're going to be taking a left. It's pretty straightforward for the rest of this dungeon. Line of sight pulls, making sure that the druids are pulled in, using Tremor Totem to mitigate all of the sleeps that are being done. We did have a pet pull here on accident, so we all stopped for a second as the pet pulled everything. That's not a problem. And then we just kind of head through there after that. And the rest of this run's rather simple. When you get to anything that's lower level or any of these non-elites, I do recommend pulling a couple at a time just so that like warlocks can dot up 2 different things at a time. If your mana starts getting low, just make sure that you have enough mana for 1 or 2 shocks. When you do reach these shamblers, they do have a healing over time. You're going to see that I will be purging the healing over time whenever they cast it. Just speeds up the run a little bit. It's not going to make it any easier for you guys. It's just going to speed it up. And Purge only costs a very small amount of mana. Just know that you won't see the buff on the enemy. We just don't see that unless a mage uses Detect Magic. No mage is going to be casting that. It's got like just not worth their rotation. So whenever you see healing over time, there's the effect. Feel free to just try to cast Purge on a couple different units to see who it's on, and simple. As far as these little lashers, I just dropped down a Stoneclaw Totem to tank them until the AoEs kill them. Usually the AoEs will kill them before your Stoneclaw goes down, but if your Stoneclaw goes down, you can always just swap that over to an Earthbind and let your damage kite it. Whenever there's a lot of little enemies, I don't even try to tank them because you just don't have the tools to do so. I tank them with Stoneclaw, and then I let my team kite them with an Earth Grasp, and that's it. That's all I ever do. Once again, line of sight pulls, pretty straightforward, just one after another, and I just give my team just a little bit of time in between if they need to drink, but most likely they really won't. If you can see, our healer's mana is almost full this entire time. Pretty much just one power word shield, one renew is all I need to stay alive almost every single fight. While the rest of this, I'm just doing pull after pull to make sure that the speed is going all right. If you guys like this style where I just fast forward through the dungeon, I might be doing that for the next few of these, just because a lot of the next few dungeons take a little while. SFK can take 45 minutes as well. So I am just probably going to be doing this style for a few times, and then I'll go back through. I might even just do boss to boss, but a lot of people do get lost in these dungeons, so I do like giving, because classic dungeons aren't as straightforward as a lot of the other dungeons, so I do like kind of still showing this so you can kind of see the path that I'm taking. But really, every fork in the road, I take a left, and I hug the left wall. You can see all this. This is a huge room in here, and I'm just hugging the left wall. Using line of sight, we take out that boss very simply, don't need to worry about it. And same thing, drop down a Tremor Totem, deals with all of the sleeps, and perfectly fine. We got multiple chests throughout this run, which is kind of nice, and I also got a lot of herbs, or herbs, depending on if you like to pronounce the H or not. And line of sight pulls every single time. Shamans, you're going to love line of sight pulls. It's going to make it super easy for you. Just always make sure you're using a rank 1 for your lightning bolt, and that's about it. When you reach some of these, there's a couple other bosses in here you might need to understand the mechanics a little bit, but they're not really going to punish you. There is the lizard has a mechanic where he does a chain lightning, so I do drop down a healing totem oftentimes. Now in this particular run, I didn't do my water quest yet, so I don't have that healing totem, but at the same time, it is something that you can do. There are times where when you get into pulls like this, you can see I didn't line of sight. I simply just walked up. If you really look around the situation and you see that there's no way that they're going to pull any extra mobs, feel free to just walk back up. Another fork in the road, I just take a left. Another fork in the road, I just hug the left wall. And here we go. We have a couple enemies here. We do line of sight, pull them over. We then interrupt the heal that they were going to do so that they get a little bit closer. And we're on the last boss. This is not the last boss. What am I thinking? We still have quite a few. I do end up taking that cape there for my team. It's a pretty good cape for a shaman. Remember that agility gives you dodge chance, strength gives you block amount. So even your stats in order of which ones you want to be getting is probably strength first, then stamina, then agility. Primarily because you want to make sure you have enough stamina to where you don't just get bursted and your healers have time to heal you. But at the same time, you don't want to just have a giant health bar with no damage mitigation. So strength is probably your best damage mitigation as far as stats go. Dodge is not bad, but then it's a little risky because if your healer, if you start off a boss fight and don't take any damage for a little while, then your healer's going to think that you're going to be safe and they might start doing some damage instead. And then suddenly you take and that's because you dodged a couple hits. Suddenly you take a couple hits in a row and they don't have the mana to heal you anymore. So just be cautious. I'm not a huge fan of dodge chance, but when you have it, you have it. And again, all of these pulls, line of sight, use a Stoneclaw, we have AoE, then we switch over to Earth Grasp afterwards. Really straightforward. I got a little low there. I do recommend bringing a couple potions into these. If you're not an alchemist, most alchemists are using healing potions to level up, so they're very cheap on the auction house. So pick up a couple potions just so it's easier to survive in case there's any burst. On this one, you can actually pull the deviate, flying one a little bit to the left of this boss before you fight him, so you can fight him alone, but he's not the most difficult one. This boss right here hits like a truck. Make sure everyone's full health, full mana, drop down a stone skin, and you can see how my health is getting chunked here. As a shaman tank, you need to be careful about watching out for those. If you guys like these videos with the Totem Tank Tuesdays or whatever I'm going to end up continue calling this, or you want to see more classic videos, let me know in the comments below and I'll make sure to do those. Otherwise, feel free to check out any of my other videos. Really appreciate it. Thank you all. And I am still thinking about doing maybe some gold guides later, but either way, thank you guys for watching and let me know.